Star Trek Lower Decks First Look, new Daleks infuriate the fans, and we may not be alone in the universe after all. All of this and more tonight on this episode of The Real Super Geeks.
We almost didn't do the anime opener.
Welcome to this week's episode of The Real Super Geeks. I'm Carlos Pedraza. We've got a boatload of co-hosts with us this week to talk about the week's geek news. So let's start by saying hello to everyone, and then we'll jump right into the top of the stories for this week. This week we're going to start by saying hello to our friend who's everything is fine where he is, Jason Kovalik. How are you, Jason?
Everything is fine. Doing good. It's been another fun week. Back in the office for a second week. We have a new training class. Things feel like they're returning to normal, more or less, but
How many people back in your office?
Right now there's about 7 leaders, and then 18 new hires.
Oh wow, new hires.
So yeah, we had to bring on a class. So
all right. And shifting over to your next door neighbor in some ways in Nevada, the inimitable Sean P. O'Halloran. Sean, the big question everyone in America is wondering about today is, are you wearing pants?
I'm not wearing pants.
In a great Zoom tradition, you are not wearing pants.
Nope, not tonight. Wait a minute. What's my cat doing out here? Cat, come here.
Is your cat wearing pants?
No, he's not. But I have some news. We got 2 bearded lizards yesterday, and bearded dragon lizards, right? And they're going to be in our next fan film, and they're getting little Starfleet uniforms and little sombreros.
Shut up! And sombreros. I can't wait to see that.
This is happening.
This is happening. Stay tuned, folks at home. And moving over another couple of states in Colorado is none other than Travis Linton. Travis, how are you? How are things going moderating Facebook's largest Star Trek group this week?
This week sucks. That's all I'm really...
What did you do this week?
Well, I mean, not so much. I haven't really been focused too much on the group because people are flooding it with face app posts, which don't really bother me, but I was like, whatever, I'm going to go over here and do my thing for a bit because,
Wise choice, Travis.
Which face app posts are those?
They're just, they're the characters get gender swapped.
So my idea for a segment tonight was to do a swipe right or swipe left. The gender swapped.
The gender swapped Star Trek characters.
I find those silly.
Hey.
I mean, at one point during the week, another post in support of the Black Lives Matter movement got approved, and people got nasty, and I was just like, good. I got a glimpse of it, and I got people calling out the movement like this terrorist organization. I was just like, good God, where do I fucking begin here? Just and I had already been fuming this entire week because I don't know what happened. Just something this week made me snap, and I went on political tangents this week with some people, and oh man,
Well, I'm glad to see that you survived nonetheless. I hope they did.
I scared somebody away. I know that much.
Now we're zooming over to the peaceful Midwest and the eyebrows of doom. Ross Bullock. Ross, how's it going where you are?
Going good, pretty good overall. A night of thunderstorms kind of kept me in a little one up last night, so we'll see how well I get through tonight. Had a great session with XCOM Chimera Squad before this, and freely admitting that if I were to die, it would be between the thighs of my hybrid soldier.
Stop it.
I find that oddly compelling.
I'll share a shot of her later. Her name's Zephyr, and she's beastly.
As I would expect. All right, and our favorite contrarian, From Arkansas, Son Seal, how are you this week, son?
Well, the realm hopping continues, Ross. I still have not been able to find the Nod base, but I appear to be on some kind of North Ridge. Oh crap! Oh no, the video thing's not working.
Oh no!
Hold on, there it is.
Oh, I was gonna say gray skies are gonna clear up.
Hey,
Yeah,
so you're just like up in Park City.
I appear to be on some kind of North Ridge.
Somewhere in Canada, I think.
Maybe.
Oh, it's definitely Canada.
This thing keeps going off behind me, and it's been giving me a headache all week.
And it looks really windy too.
Yeah,
not
I
hot?
do enjoy the cold though.
You sure you're
Good to
not
know.
Hoth?
And why do they call it Hoth? Shouldn't it be called Colt?
Stop it.
Yeah, thank you, Travis. Just stop it, Sean.
Don't need no
Oh,
this show.
Travis, you do Righteous Indignation the best of anyone on this show. I'm just gonna say that.
Well, I try.
Oh, you don't even have to try. You're just naturally good at it. And finally, last but not least, our stalwart producer, Justin Burton. Justin, how are you?
Hello, I am doing quite well. It's been a pretty busy week. Had a few doctor's appointments and some other stuff I had to get took care of. So yeah, it's been all right.
Well, good to know. Let's jump into the top of our topics for this week, and that is news finally leaked out about Star Trek Lower Decks as an interview in Entertainment Weekly with the showrunner for the show revealed that he is interested in introducing next generation characters into Lower Decks, which of course is set post Nemesis, so that would be about the right time and place for them to appear. And we heard a little bit more details about the kind of ship they're on, what kind of roles they serve on, who their captain is, and other stuff. What do you guys think about the news from the Lower Decks?
Good stuff. Well, my excitement continues at a stable level.
We remain even-keeled excited.
It's like yes, more.
I was especially glad to read some of the details about the ship. I forget the name. Someone remind me.
Cerritos?
Yeah.
The USS Cerritos.
A city-sized ship. So this a lot of space to get lost on. A lot of space to have all kinds of weird shenanigans.
I thought it was really interesting that they made a point of saying it was a city-sized ship, given that the original description of the show said it was set on one of the least important ships in Starfleet.
Well, yeah, we're going to find out. It's basically a big mall in space. It's basically what it is. That's all it is.
Well, even
It's the
in
Mall of the Federation in space.
We already had that on the promenade.
I thought they already had it in Star Trek Beyond, the Yorktown.
Oh yeah.
That was a
Wait,
big mall in space.
Now just
Well,
snow
you're
globe
right.
in space.
Maybe it's the size of Golden. Maybe it's just a small city.
That's true. Golden is a small city.
Maybe somebody stole one of those Voth city ships. Just
Yeah, I guess it was a
retrofitted
small
it with Federation tech.
Now, here's a real question. If next-gen characters do appear on the show, which would you all be most interested to see?
Worf Barkley.
Jeez.
What did you say?
Barkley.
I heard,
Jason
I heard
Barkley, okay.
I heard Worf
I heard-
Barkley, which is a sound.
I heard
just sounds-
Worf Barkley. And I'm like, is that like are you shipping Worf and Barkley now?
Well, I heard Worf Barkley, and I said, we have a dog in
I
here.
thought we were getting
Ideas.
Tuvix there for a second whenever you said Worf Barkley.
Worf Barkley.
I mean,
Actually-
I think Worf and Barkley would be a pretty good ship.
I think it would actually. I have to say that I know in past episodes I have not always come down as a big fan of Michael Dorn, just because he's so thirsty when it comes to Star Trek.
Jesus.
But I would totally approve of seeing Worf on Lower Decks. I'm totally down with that.
Worf is
I
comedy.
wanted to see how.
That's
they
how I
do
want Worf to
Klingon.
return, is on lower decks.
Yeah, because
Me too.
Worf is comedy gold as a straight man,
Me too.
Worf is comedy gold as a straight man, without question.
Yeah.
So I'm down with that too. I would have no complainks.
Would I be going too far in
I
saying
didn't
this is a
wanna
Super
see-
Geeks consensus that we have a
He might be a
consensus
little
that
high on the totem pole for a show like Lower Decks.
No. What you do is you make him as the chief security officer, whatever the fuck this ship is.
Oh, ouch! Michael Dorn would not like you, son.
Exactly.
Particularly since
But
some
then when they get
versions-
into trouble, they always have to go to Worf, who is always pissed.
No, I would like to see the Cerritos come across Captain Worf's ship. Just let's give Michael Dorn his starship and his command he's so thirsty for, but make it in the animated realm.
Make it a science ship too.
Let's think of all the worst characters that you could have from Next Generation on there. For example, like
Ensign Kim?
Special appearance.
Oh, that's
What?
Voyager, dude.
Oh, that'd be perfect, actually.
Or how about
Special appearance by the ghost from Sub Rosa.
Fuck you.
Oh,
That's
there
what I was
you
going
go.
to say.
No,
Fuck
I'm
you.
thinking the guy from The Most Toys.
He was Fajo.
He was Fajo.
Yeah.
Well, but Alec Peters isn't allowed to be involved in Star Trek anymore.
Oh.
Who else appears on your wish list for wanting to appear on Lower Decks?
I mean, it's from the entire TNG era, right?
Yeah, I mean, what he said was, Mike McCann is his
Guidance.
name. He says, Next Gen is my favorite era, and as a huge Trek fan, I would definitely want to try to use some of them so that I could not only build out the world, but also work with some of my heroes. I can't get more specific than that. You'll have to wait and see.
Well,
Him would actually be perfect because he gets back from the Delta Quadrant and he becomes what? Ensign
Ensign?
junior grade? He finally gets promoted.
Senior Ensign?
But he's still on the same level as these guys on the ship, so he could actually interact with them on
Poor
their level
Harry
instead of being this
Petty Ensign.
super
Best thing to
hero
happen-
officer that shows up and
And
Were you?
then the day after his promotion, something happens where he loses. He gets demoted. And that's when he appears.
it takes an
No,
act
Harry
of
Kim-
God
Harry
to
Kim
vote
should
people on Star
never-
Trek, though.
Harry Kim should never be promoted. He should be
The
Ensign
Eternal
Emeritus.
Ensign. The Eternal Ensign.
I mean, it'd be cool to see Cass come back. That'd be a character you could bring back.
Yeah,
What
she'd
about-
be a meth addict.
Yeah.
Good God.
Oh,
Not
geez.
About some of the guys who were on the
Bring
TNG
back
episode
Guinan.
Lower Decks.
I feel so bad about making fun of Cass.
Or better
Yeah,
yet,
really, I'm sorry.
the kids
That was
from
totally
Ensigns
inappropriate.
of Command.
I personally wouldn't mind seeing Roller.
Yeah.
Can we have
They'll never get
Pulaski
her back.
please?
Who?
Pulaski.
Rollard.
Pulaski.
Oh, Flasky.
Didn't she fall down a turbo lift?
Oh.
Husky's awesome.
I loved
Oh,
Pulaski.
Rollard with-
I
Oh,
loved
love
Pulaski.
her.
I loved her crusty self.
I did too. I thought she was a great foil. She was very McCoy-like. I liked her.
She was, and
She was literally
I,
McCoy. She was gender swap McCoy.
she was,
Someone post that.
Someone post that. Yes.
Then they.
It's really weird,
bring
though,
back,
because-
Roller.
Sorry, go ahead. Justin.
Go ahead, Justin.
Then they bring back Rollard in the books. She's a terrorist basically now.
Well, yeah, she comes back in the books, but the actress has expressed absolutely zero interest in coming back to
Yeah.
Trek.
She's
That's
not,
not a
especially in an
problem.
But
animated
when's the last time
series.
Michelle Forbes
They
was working?
recasted. They recasted.
Michelle Wolf,
they
she has
recasted,
worked pretty steadily. What's that, Travis?
It's recast.
Even if they don't get the actor back, I mean, they recasted. They recasted Dr.
Zhivago.
I'm blanking.
How about Maddox?
Maddox.
The guy who puts data on.
Maddox.
Maddox. Bruce
Oh,
Maddox.
yeah, Dr. Maddox, yeah. Bruce Maddox.
I mean,
Well, I mean, yeah, it's animated, so they can do what the fuck they want.
That's
I mean,
true. They can make her look like Roller and just have someone else.
I think it's more. I think it's for considering the tone of the show. I think you have to. I think when we're thinking about it, I think Worf is probably the best pick. LaForge would be a good pick too, and I say that because when I'm reminded of when they did the episode of Family Guy where Stewie got the whole cast of Next Gen together, which is like one of the greatest episodes ever of that show. And
That was the B plot.
Yeah, and that was a B plot, right? Exactly. And LeVar Burton was hilarious in that. So I mean, hell, Patrick Stewart was hilarious in that.
I mean,
He's hilarious every time he appears.
Yeah.
The B
Yeah.
plot of that episode is great. Like, I laughed when the Star Trek cast was on there. The fact that it was advertised as the main plot is why I hate that episode. The main plot of that episode sucks ass.
I forgot what the main plot of that episode is. That's how basically.
Basically, Meg finds religion, and
Ugh.
basically, it's a Meg episode. Brian,
it was with the Kirk Cameron thing, yeah.
Oh,
And then
Kirk Cameron, of course.
Meg exposes Brian as an atheist, and the entire neighborhood persecutes him for being atheist. It makes no sense.
All I remember is all of them going through McDonald's drive-thru.
Yeah.
That's a great scene.
God,
I
now I
have to
want
pee
some
again.
McDonald's fries.
Shut up and order.
Brent,
Oh,
take
man.
Michael to the bathroom, please.
That's the thing. Michael Dorn is great as a voice actor. He's been
Sure
in
he
like
is.
so many fucking video games
Yep.
as
He's an XCOM.
different characters, and he's a great voice. Don't put him in front of the screen. Put him behind the screen in front of a microphone.
Yeah, and why am I drawing a complete blank on this? What was it? He was on that Cartoon Network show for years. I'm drawing a complete blank on.
Using
I am
gargoyles.
Weasel.
I am Weasel. Thank you. He was Weasel.
He was on gargoyles.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It was a spin-off of Cow and Chicken.
Oh, I do know Cow and Chicken. All right, well, I think that brings us to the end of our first topic. Now we'll go to our second topic, which is a look back 30 years this week when we were introduced to Locutus of Borg. This was the week that Best of Both Worlds Part 1 aired across the country, across the globe, introducing the scariest version of the Borg we had seen yet. And that was 30 years ago. I titled this topic, Happy 30th Birthday, Locutus.
And the summer that almost never ended.
That's true. That was an endless summer and not in a good way.
Gee, it's so funny about that.
Oh my god! I remember when that aired. Everyone thought that they were going to kill off Patrick Stewart.
They very well could have.
They might have, yeah.
He
It
was
could
thought he
happen.
was going to get killed off.
If the series had come out today, he likely would have.
Like when in the freaking the character countdown that I did, when I analyzed Jonathan Frakes, I actually mentioned this episode, and it just like I wasn't alive when this episode aired, but like reading
Thank you,
it,
Travis. Thank
What?
you.
you're welcome. I'm young, you're old. You're welcome.
Wow!
Here's what I'm gonna say. You may
Shots
be
fired.
young.
Shots fired.
Yeah, you may be young, but we got to watch this episode air first run.
That's right.
Hey.
We sure did.
I watched it, and I watched
Not
it.
first run.
Not first
I'm
run.
not
And you
fair.
didn't get the chance to experience 3.5 months of
Months.
waiting to find out what the hell was going to happen next.
I
all
waited
of
well
the
to hear
rumors.
StarCraft 2, so shut up. Anyway, where was I going with this?
Jonathan Frakes.
I thought you were
I
just
have
something.
read a
Oh.
lot into this episode, and just like the atmosphere surrounding the production and the unsureness of where it would go from here. And while I was writing Riker's analysis, I just couldn't help but wonder, like, what could have been had Patrick Stewart actually decided, you know what, this is the end of the line for me. I'm going somewhere else. Like, just, I am 100%, I'm 100% convinced that Riker could have carried the show. I mean, I'm happy the way it went. I'm happy that we got the part 2 that we got. But, I mean, even if it is a bit strange that Riker was demoted with little to no fanfare afterwards. But, I mean, I have done a lot of analysis into this episode and just dissected it multiple times. It is a wonderful episode, and
I remember when I saw it first run, thinking exactly the same thing. I was like, finally, we see Riker being a captain, and not just kind of kowtowing to Picard, and he became his own man. And it was really cool to watch because it was such a departure from the Riker we had seen up to that point. And I remember particularly that pivotal scene between Riker and Guinan, in which she said, "You have to let him go.
Mhm.
I've let him go. You need to let him go." And boy, did he. And it was just fun to watch the Enterprise be used tactically the way that we saw in Best of Both Worlds, which we had never seen.
Yeah. Sadly, they could have went in a, okay, they went okay with the direction they went with TNT, but they could have done so much more had they decided to play with the Riker as a captain now angle. Maybe Patrick Stewart, Picard got promoted after this, or maybe decided to take time off after this. I mean, they could have done so much with that had they decided to let's let Captain be Riker be a captain for the season, and see what happens. I mean, they could have done so much with that.
There's one thing you got to keep in mind with that discussion. One irrefutable, incontrovertible, and granite elements of television at the time. The status quo. At the end of the episode, everything has to be exactly the way it was at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's all right.
It's
I mean,
all good.
yeah, I was. I've explained this before. This was during my girls phase, so I wasn't into it at the time. But I do recall two things. One, that at the time, what I really remember is I knew about what happened because everybody was fucking talking about it, even if you weren't a Star Trek fan. Everybody was talking about the end of Best of Both Worlds 1 and freaking out for the next 3 months. And it's it amazes me to this day because now, if that had happened today, it would be 18 months before you got resolution to that, not 3.5. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly. But better special effects.
right,
Well,
exactly.
Today, wouldn't they bookend that as the season finale? Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2 would be the season finale?
Perhaps. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
because that was pure torture for the fans at the time. But I going back when I finally became a Trek fan and I went through the whole series of Next Generation, because I knew how that episode was going to wind up ahead of time. I knew obviously that Picard was going to get back because I had caught some Next Generation between the end of season 3 and the end of season 7 since then. So obviously Picard was there. So I knew what was going to happen. It's not so much what happens from an outsider's perspective, somebody who didn't see it in first run. To me, it's not so much what happened at the end of Best of Both Worlds. It's the next episode, Family, that I think is far more important than the end of Best of Both Worlds Part 2.
That's a great episode.
That's an outstanding episode into Picard, and that's the first time we ever really got a look at him outside of his life as the captain of the Enterprise, as a Starfleet officer.
And the first time that they actually acknowledged something that happened in a previous fucking episode.
No, not necessarily.
Well, I'm not really sure about that, but I will say that they really they certainly didn't ignore it this time. They really
Conspiracy led directly into the first encounter with the Borg.
Is it conspiracy?
The neutral zone. Sorry,
Neutral zone did.
Neutral zone.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the idea of the Borg was something that appears to have been baked into the premise of the show early on, and they really did build to it. Although, interestingly, in the article that I cite in the Trello card for this topic from Sci-Fi Wire, they point out that the Borg, as originally conceived, were not, in fact, interested in assimilating organic life. They were only interested in assimilating technology, and that changed in the Best of Both Worlds. The writers basically did not a 360, but they did 180. They did reconceive what they had thought of the Borg as, and that basically it was in many senses a retcon, because it changed the way the past of the Borg and the future of the Borg as they were portrayed on screen.
It wasn't a retcon. They acknowledged the change. The Borg were approaching the Enterprise specifically to assimilate Picard, to be their voice as they assimilate Earth and the Federation. It was acknowledged in the show as fact. The biggest change came with First Contact, when we saw them assimilating the Enterprise and its crew.
Except what we know is that in the history of the Borg, they were assimilating organic life in the Delta Quadrant.
Only because that was that became a retcon.
That's the retcon.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. What we saw in Q-Who, right? We saw Baby Borg.
Yep.
Right. We saw, they were interested in the stuff of the Enterprise, right? They weren't interested in the raw materials and the technology, not so much the crew. That's what made them very terrifying, because it wasn't like they didn't care about you. You were meaningless to them. All they wanted was your stuff, and they were going to take it, and they were going to take it with force. There was nothing you could do to stop them, and they were going to leave you in a lifeless hulk of a ship that's been sliced and diced because they want your stuff. That's what was most terrifying about the Borg.
Well, I kind of always thought that they were more terrifying after they had an interest in biology, because then that meant that no one was off limits. So, that was kind of my angle on it. But I was also, back to family, besides the look at the PTSD that Picard suffered, that also sets up an incredible fourth season that was vastly superior.
The fourth season was amazing.
Yeah, I was just going down the list here a moment ago of all the phenomenal episodes of that season, and it's rare. It's like the fourth season of TNG is one of the few seasons that doesn't have a third to half of all the episodes being complete shit. I mean, because that's my complaint about Trek in general. It's not a complaint, just an observation, is that there is so much filler, but there is so little filler in season 4. Season 4 is so freaking good from beginning to end.
What are some of the highlight episodes that stand out?
Let's see. The Drumhead was on my list.
If I can think of a few off the top of my head.
You got the Drumhead. Brothers is phenomenal. Suddenly Human's a great episode. Legacy is a great episode. That's with the return of Tasha Yar's sister.
Is Reunion in the fourth season?
Yes, it is. Future Imperfect.
Reunion.
Oh, yeah, that was a great one.
Yep. Future Imperfect. Final Mission, which is probably one of my favorite Wesley episodes. The Lost is dumb. That's a filler.
Devil's Due.
Devil's Due. I love that.
I didn't like Devil's Due that much, but
no,
I like it because of one line and one line only, where Picard says to her, "Madam, you are vulgar and obvious." That is such a great fucking line.
I do think the best episode of season 4 though was the Drumhead.
Drumhead is outstanding. First Contact's in there, which is one of my favorite episodes.
First Contact's a great one.
Yeah.
First Contact had Lilith, which I thought totally worked.
I've never made love to an alien. It's outstanding. Yeah. Identity Crisis. The Nth Degree is one of my favorite episodes of all time.
Which one was that one?
With Barclay, where he gets taken over by the probe.
Oh yeah, that was pretty fun.
And the ending is so perfect. It's such a perfect Star Trek ending. Let's
remember though, it's also the one that had Cupid.
Oh, well, yeah, like I said mostly.
I am not a married
man. Which admittedly is one of the best lines in Star Trek.
It is.
Captain, I must protest.
Cupid,
I am not a married man.
One of the best Loxana episodes, Half a Life. I love that episode. It's a great one. Perfect.
Data's Day. Data's Day was season 4.
Data's Day is fun.
The Manchurian Candidate episode, The Mind's Eye. I love that episode. Redemption is the season finale. It's a really phenomenal season.
Okay. Quit naming every fucking episode of the season.
Point made.
We didn't name Remember Me because that was the one that we wanted to all forget.
Yes,
well, and I have until you brought it up again. What one was that? What one was that?
That's the one where where Crusher is in the micro universe that keeps it's shrinking.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
It's a
yeah.
terrible episode.
Oh, yeah. I actually didn't mind that one that much.
It was a neat sci-fi concept. I think they probably should have found a different character to focus
Yeah.
around because Crusher just wasn't compelling.
And it would have been much better than a 15-minute fan film done by the guidelines.
It actually, I think you're correct.
It just drags out so long.
Okay, well, here's looking forward to Locutus's 40th birthday 10 years from now, and we'll revisit season 4 again. Now let's switch over to our Star Wars topic for the week, and that was the release of the Galaxy Adventures animated version of the showdown between Luke Skywalker and the man we later come to discover, or we discover in this particular scene, is his father, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. And Galaxy Adventures, as you may know, is they're animated retellings of some of the most significant scenes in the Star Wars saga. And this being the 40th anniversary of the release of Empire Strikes Back, that's kind of the impetus for the creation and release of this short. Did you guys get a chance to give it a look?
Yeah, the whole 1 minute and 22 seconds of it.
Yeah,
sure did.
it's quick. It's quick.
These are basically ads for the movies.
Well, I think they're ads for kids. I mean, Galaxy Adventures is for kids. I mean, it's to get them to see movies because they probably haven't seen them.
Right. Listen,
An easy way to introduce the idea of the films and some of their most dramatic moments to a new audience in an accessible way.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's successful in that. I mean, it's compelling to watch even having seen the original film.
Oh, I love these things. I think everything should be animated.
You know, the only thing it's missing is like, a T-17 with face. That's for you, Ross. Yes, I'm interested. They have a whole series of these. And what were some of the other ones that I saw? They have the one.
They've got pretty much all the big moments of Star Wars in these, from the first trilogy to the prequel trilogy to the sequel trilogy. Now, some of the latest ones.
Yeah, I saw that one of them is with Rey.
A lot of them are character pictures. They give you kind of snapshots of characters through each of the series. There's a really good one that shows Anakin on his journey from the young kid from Tatooine through Darth Vader.
Right. There's the Darth Vader one. There's a Han Solo one. There is another one of their 40th anniversary of Empire ones is dedicated to the Battle of Cold.
There's one of C-3PO, and it's just every time he says we're doomed.
He got quite tedious, actually, starting in Empire, frankly.
C-3PO is always a little tedious.
He just. Why did they have to go out of their way to make?
Yeah, he's one of the best characters in Rise of Skywalker. Go figure.
His whole point is to be tedious. He's built to be an etiquette and protocol droid.
I mean, good grief. In Attack of the Clones, that was his entire character, just one-liner after one-liner, bit after bits.
You know,
I
have been really inspired in the last couple of weeks to do a rewatch of the first prequel series. Because I don't know, I just I kind of want to just get the story back in my head. I watched the beginning of the opening sequence of was it Attack of the Clones?
Phantom Menace.
No. It's the one. I think it's Attack of the Clones. That's the second one, right? Yes, yeah. That's the one where Anakin and Obi-Wan are in their fighters fighting whoever it is they're fighting.
No, that's
Revenge of the Sith.
It is Revenge of the Sith? Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Count Dooku, I watched that. All that kind of, yeah. That's the third one.
Okay. It was late night on Disney Plus, and I fell asleep halfway through. So that's the best I can do remembering it. Yes, the prequel movies I find are a really great sleep on it. So just so you know.
There's a lot of good in those.
No, there is some good. Some of the visuals I think are gorgeous. I just think some of the.
I think they're fucking terrible. But I will say this about them is that they're not. It's like, how do I put this? I say this about Star Trek too, is that there is really not any completely unwatchable Star Trek. I kind of feel the same way about Star Wars, in that I can watch them. I mean, I
think Sub Rosa is unwatchable Star Trek.
Yeah,
Come
that's
on.
horrible. Yeah,
I like
yeah.
Sub Rosa.
Recruiter.
Really?
Yeah.
Up the Long Ladder. Oh, that's a good one.
I'm sorry, but seeing Beverly Crusher have an orgasm on screen was like seeing my mom have an orgasm. It was not good to look.
So you were very uncomfortable with the idea of your mother being a sexual individual.
Yes, I am.
That sounds like a you problem.
He very much is against Roxana.
Aren't most children have a hard time with seeing their parents as
sexual beings?
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, unless you live in a hippie
Children,
community.
yes. Once you become adults, you start to grow beyond these things.
Do we know?
Ideally, I'm not saying I want to sit there and be in the audience or as a participant. But
I remember I was watching The Shining with my mom on HBO. We had just gotten HBO for the first time. This is like 1981. And I'm watching it with my mom, and there's that scene with Shelley Duvall completely naked, and it was so uncomfortable. I was like 18 years old, next to my mom with this naked woman right in front of both of us. I was like, ugh.
I'm 42 years old. I'm guessing I'm at Half-Life, and I still have a problem thinking about my parents as being sexual beings. So
yeah. Sorry about that.
On to our next topic.
I think we can exterminate that last topic.
How do you think you came to be, after all?
I know, but I wasn't conscious of it.
No, that's it. I'm done.
Denied.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Shut up. I said I was done. Move on.
Yeah, we are moving on to our Doctor Who topic for the week, which is the release of a still photograph of the newest version of the Daleks as they're going to be portrayed in the 2020 holiday special that we'll be seeing at the end of the year, pandemic willing. And apparently it's not going over so well with the fans.
Infuriate.
It looks like someone just weathered a Dalek.
It looks like a robot to me.
Admittedly, it looks like unfinished to me. Let me pull up a copy.
Well, it's a leak. So yeah, no, it's gonna look unfinished. It's complete. It's a leak, so it's an unfinished product. But still, yes, this is a lot smaller than what we've ever seen in a Dalek before. Because the base of a Dalek is 2 or 3, or no, at least 2 times bigger than what we have in this leaked picture, typically. But the problem here is
it's lost weight.
It's been on keto.
The problem here is that the fans think of the Daleks being this huge, massive fucking tank thing.
Like the new paradigms?
Yeah, that's true to an extent, but you gotta remember, as technology evolves, things get smaller.
Typically.
True.
We have
but we don't know whether these are new or old or whatever. I mean, remember, this is a show that revolves around time travel, folks. Who know that almost what it is? I mean,
yeah, but it's a show that also used to revolve around really bad production values. So, the reintroduction of the Daleks in the reboot of Doctor Who, for the first time, I remember especially seeing them fly. I remember thinking, my God, those plunger things actually look dangerous for once.
The plunger never looks dangerous unless you're a clogged toilet.
What did you just call me fat, Jason? Bitch.
Uh-oh.
Anyway,
I don't
Now
know.
the plunger's been replaced by one of those weird little flowering toy things. You know, you little push the button and it spins around and the flower pops open. It's like that, but as a claw.
The claw.
Toy
I was
Story,
just
Toy Story
about this
reference.
goddamn scene this morning too. God damn it!
I will say though that the body of this new Dalek
Yes, sorry.
looks a lot like Davros's chair.
Yeah, I mean that's what I said too. I was thinking the same thing. It looks like unfinished.
It looks like-
I'm hoping
think
that
one of the
you know
big
maybe a paint job will help
misconceptions-
it out.
I just
I'm
don't
sorry,
care.
Ross. Go ahead.
I think
gotta
one
be
of the big
honest.
misconceptions about Daleks, some of the things that I've been seeing in the complaint threads is people saying the Daleks are supposed to be tanks. They're supposed to be tanks. The blah, blah, blah. They're not tanks. They're life support systems
Yeah,
for
that's
a
exactly what
formerly
they are.
humanoid race that are now this little tentacle blob gross thing. They're combat support systems, not necessarily tanks. So, and we've actually seen someone sit down inside one and operate it. So
Yep.
they want it short and stocky, but in reality it should be, well,
That's what she said.
previously.
They're basically the Snelligaster to this universe's Illithid.
I mean, I don't have a problem. I'm always up for new concepts in these things. You know, it reminds me of, they did a poll in 2009. Not 2000. It was actually not 2009. It was in 2008 when the images for the new Enterprise came out for 2009 Star Trek.
Oh
And
my God, I remember when that happened.
They asked people who like didn't know Star Trek. It was like the thing from The Office, where they showed two pictures of the original Enterprise and the one from the 09, and the people response generally was they're the same picture, because most people don't notice or care is what it comes down to. Most
About
of the audience.
bulbous nacelles.
Yeah, no, give a shit. You know, it's okay. So I don't see a difference. What's the difference?
I'd like to get my hands on her ample nacelles, if you mind engineering parlance.
This show is going wonderfully.
So I mean, I think it's much ado about nothing. Fans will find anything to complain about. You know, I think it looks cool myself. It's fine.
Well, I mean, you know, it's sort of like it reminds me of the leak, the premature leak of the interior for Jodie Whittaker's TARDIS, and the way the picture was taken, it looked awful. And once you saw it on screen, properly lit, and you know, from angles, it was actually a pretty decent looking TARDIS.
And the crystals online.
I'm going to be honest, as a not Doctor Who fan, someone who hasn't loyally watched the show, this looks a lot scarier than the other Daleks.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously, if this thing touches me, I'm going to have to get a tetanus shot.
I do like this a lot better than the.
Well, so the picture, the Rust picture that's being shown is basically kind of an inspiration model for the leaked picture that is
yes, it's last year's model.
Okay.
I gotta say, I do like this a lot better than the last time they tried rebooting how the Daleks look, the new paradigms. Those were Technicolor and bulky.
Oh
and,
yeah, I remember that.
Oh
And
yeah,
the
they were
multicolored
super
Daleks?
Technicolor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were there for like 2 episodes, and then they brought back the previous look.
Yeah, because the fan reaction seemed to have been so anti this thing of Daleks, you know, having something more than a mind of their own.
You know what? I don't care as long as they don't change this.
Exterminate!
Watch, the voice will be all feminine and seductive.
Oh my God!
Exterminate.
Exterminate.
It's gonna be like that episode of Star Trek where
the computer was like,
yeah,
One moment,
Can-
dear.
computing, dear. Yeah.
You know, play the
what
blue wave.
episode was that? I love that episode.
Returned, or is it
It's tomorrow's yesterday.
tomorrow's yesterday? Thank
That
you.
was actually
Oh,
okay.
right.
Okay, that was actually one of the better episodes where we get introduced
Oh, yeah.
to Clara.
Did we get one out?
Because What in Doctor Who, when we are first introduced to Clara, she is literally the mind of a Dalek, or in the mind of a Dalek.
Right.
And this whole time we are seeing her interact with the Doctor until the Doctor comes to rescue her in a Dalek insane asylum, and she's a Dalek.
And then deletes the Doctor from all information for the second time, and then it gets undone later.
I know. How many Dalek wipes can we stand?
How many times does the Doctor get deleted from existence only to make a name for himself again?
Well, I don't know
over again.
If you've watched the end of the latest series, every 12 fucking regenerations apparently.
Apparently.
Hey, have we addressed this issue of there are only supposed to be X number of doctors, yet we could see that number? Have they addressed that issue yet?
Okay,
the timeless child.
The addressing of that issue is that is only supposed to be relegated to the Gallifreyans, and the Doctor is Gallifreyan.
What?
Exactly.
Is this something
The Doctor is a timeless child. It's a being that the Gallifreyans adopted, basically.
The Doctor was a child that a Gallifreyan
two
medically
hearts.
experimented on and created the Time Lords out of the Gallifreyans.
Okay, all right. So, okay.
You're a couple episodes behind.
Yeah,
I'm a season behind.
If you're a season behind, then that's why.
Seriously, after the New Year's special, I literally had no interest at all in it whatsoever. I just got it on Blu-ray. It just showed up, so I'm gonna have to watch it.
Yeah, catch up, Sean.
Oh well, then spoilers.
Please,
Hashtag spoilers.
Please don't catch up. Please don't catch up. The writing for the season is fucking horrible. Just skip it.
Yeah, that's right. Short Treks is on DVD and Blu-ray.
And I'm sure you have
it
that,
is.
Sean, right?
I do.
The Short Treks on DVD.
Yes.
I need to go find that.
I want to give them another watch, especially the
the
Pike ones. Ooh, is that Hayden? What's going on, Hayden?
That's Hayden. Say hi to Carlos, Hayden.
Hi.
Hi, Hayden.
Hi, Hayden.
I love otters too.
Says he loves otters too.
Oh.
I'm the guy that
Okay.
shows all the videos.
Travis gets me all the otter videos. Okay, are you done?
I have GameStop exclusive.
Oh, you do. Okay. Wants to show this.
It's a GameStop exclusive.
That
Ready.
looks exclusive.
Yeah.
Travis, I want to know where yours is.
Where's my?
Where's yours?
Weasel's
Thank
right
you.
there.
Better watch out before that thing comes to life and comes to get you.
That's
This
right.
thing? This thing's
No,
my butt.
the teddy bear that is from before.
Hayden's Freddy Bear.
Yeah.
No, Weasel is never far away from me.
He got mad because he thought I didn't get him the right one. Then he found out it was a GameStop exclusive. He's like, "Oh, collectibles."
I love the way he says that too. It's a GameStop
try and return it
exclusive.
and get like $5 for it.
Subscribe to like 3
In 6 months,
channels on
$6.
Well, moving on to our next topic. I don't know if you, like me, are on the mailing list, the email lists for any of the major theater chains. I happen to be on AMC's, and I learned from them that they're about to reopen their theaters in July, and which also points to the news that TV and movie production is getting ready to begin again as well. And a group of Hollywood unions got together to come up with a list of principles around which, guaranteeing the safety of their union members as film production restarts in Hollywood. And the big news out of that is that they managed to ignore, that the union that I think is the most important one, of course, the writers' union.
First Guild, right? You saw my link then.
Yeah, I did, and I thought it was a great story because apparently one of the things that they're doing to guarantee safety on movie sets is to restrict the type and number of people who can be on movie sets. And Jason, I know you've been kind of following this sort of restart of production story as well. And they're actually restricting things like there's a clear agenda here. Remember, this is coming from the unions. No network executives. Now, I mean, you can almost read this and get a sense of who these people hate because they don't want them around. Unfortunately, included in that list are showrunners, producers, and writers.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean, Mike, I have a little bit of experience in this. My company is, I work for a digital healthcare technology company. We work with employers to help people navigate healthcare in the United States, navigate their benefits and things like that. And we're putting together a product around returning to work. And we've been very active in COVID. We had one of the very first nationwide test finders. Our test finder is powering Google Maps, it's powering the state of New York, is powering all different kind of state healthcare or health department engines. One of our clients is a major Hollywood studio, and the idea here is that in our office in Salt Lake City is reopened 2 weeks ago now, and so the whole idea is you really do try to minimize non-essential employees. So what is the intent of coming in, and understanding what are you getting out of work coming in versus working virtual, right? For us, it's collaboration. We can't collaborate on a Teams meeting as well as we can in person. We don't have that, and we have a class. We have to hire. We have to lower. In order for us to lower our costs, we have to, do some internal pivoting to, to hire internally for our support organization. So, that's what's happening. That's what this is. This isn't about. I mean, I know that it's fun and sexy to blame, to try to say it's against Hollywood executives, but it really is about safety. It's about how do we manage, the people coming in and out. Every person that comes in presents a whole new slew of variables, where they've been, who they've come in contact with, and things like that. And minimizing that, keeping that to a minimum, is really the key to keeping the work space safe.
Yeah, agreed. And even the WGA put out a statement essentially agreeing with that, but also trying to make the point that it's difficult to make a show when the person who's responsible for making the show isn't allowed on set.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably a lot of space for showrunners to be there. They at least the showrunner needs to be there. But do you need to bring in all 5-10 writers from the writers' room and bring them into the space? Probably not. Again, it isn't just you're introducing those 5 or 6 people, but you're also introducing everyone those 5 or 6 people have been around, and
sure
people they've been around. It's about managing contact.
No, I get the logic behind it. It's just that it's difficult to produce a television series, especially
absolutely, yeah.
When your showrunner is barred from the set. I mean, it's just
Right.
Writers don't visit sets that often, so it's not like saying no to most writers is a terrible thing. But for the showrunner, who's essentially the head writer, that person needs to be able to be on set. They just need to be able to be on set. And it's a pretty broad brush that these guidelines created by these unions have put together. But in general, yeah, I agree with the point of view that you're outlining, Jason. I think it's an odd omission given the role of the showrunner in TV.
Yeah,
now, the guidelines also, they're for both television and film, and admittedly, a lot of the discretion that's being created around who can be on set and how how things are managed is being left up to the director, which on a film set makes sense because the director is the boss. On a film set, but on television, the director is not the boss. The showrunner is the boss, and so that's why it seems to me an odd omission.
Can't they do it remotely though? Could they not set up some way to do it remotely?
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole point here. That it's much more difficult to run a show remotely. Is really what it comes down to.
I mean, I've like I've talked about it in previous episodes. I've listened to the West Wing Weekly. I'm listening to fake doctors, real friends. I'm listening to the Office Ladies, and especially with the latter two, They're newer, but hearing about in The Office, you had writers that were actors in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Lieberstein, Mindy Kaling, Ryan the intern, or Ryan the temp. And then flipping over to Scrubs, you still had Bill Lawrence and they were on set rewriting as scenes were being played out. I think that's what's really going to be missed, is that without having the writers there, as they see things not play out well, who's going to make that call? I think that's why I think, Carlos, to your point, yes, I do think that the showrunner at least needs to be there, because they're the one who's executing the vision. The director is just taking what's on paper and putting it to film.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, as we've discussed in the past several weeks, Jason, the way production is going to resume it's going to change a lot, and certainly increase the cost of these productions. And this is just one more change that may have a lot of unintended consequences on top of increased costs. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out. All right. Anyone else have anything to say on this topic before we move on to our next one?
Nope.
This is going to change everything. It's going to be probably quite a while before we start seeing new TV pop up again. I would say at least mid 2021.
I totally couldn't hear you there, Justin.
Is that any better?
Yes.
Someone's got a lot of background noise going on all of a sudden.
No, it's your microphone. You're moving away from it or something, but just get close enough to it.
Oh, it sounded like someone had a fan going.
I'm not hearing that. I'm just not hearing you.
It's background noise from Carlos.
Ah.
From me? I don't have any noise back
it is
there.
from you. It is.
Yeah, it's from you.
Maybe, I don't know, turn down your gain? I don't know.
It might be my computer fan.
It's never been that loud before.
I know. That's what's so weird.
Maybe your noise cancellation got shut off.
There, I turned down the gain a little.
I will say this. I think what Justin is getting at is that we're going to see a parallel to the writer's strike. It's going to be a while before we really get like a full production of something new.
Yeah, production offices are good.
Yeah, because I mean, the way I look at it is you're going to have them trying to figure all of this out for now. And then it's going to take them time to get everything all set up. And then they got to approve it. They have to vote on it. They have to get the regulations all set up. And there's going to be back and forth on it. Before they can even start production again, they have to get this thing hammered out. So it's probably going to be a while, because it's going to take them a while to hammer all this out.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. Okay, well, let's move on to our next topic. And this is one that comes here from Seattle, where I live, and that is the news that finally the organizers of the Emerald City Comic Con have decided to cancel the con.
Waiting till the last minute, huh?
They really did. It seemed to me that it was pretty clear that it should have been canceled a long time ago, and why they waited so long is beyond me, given the fact that, I mean, even Comic-Con, made its decision way before this, but but it does come back to the story we've been covering over the last few months in terms of the future of cons, given, the economic implications of them having to cancel. And my suspicion is that that's probably the reason why the Emerald City folks held on as long as they did, is they wanted to see if they could salvage some kind of financial repercussions out of this. But I think it's the last of the major cons, right? That
Dragon Con is still up. In fact, Dragon Con has a countdown clock of, as of yesterday, it was 77 days and counting.
Really?
Yeah, and they've got COVID-19 warnings and things like that, and that they're doing everything. They got basically a disclaimer on there that based on COVID-19, all of our staff is operating from remotely, yada yada, but they are ready to go.
Because I don't know if have any of you been to Dragon Con? I've been to Dragon Con many times, and I will tell
my
you,
God. Dragon Con.
It is. That place is like, okay, it's spread out over multiple city blocks.
yep, and it's wall to wall people across all of those city blocks. It's like 70,000 people at
I
that.
can't believe it's that fucking big. Are you serious?
It's huge.
It's because
huge.
it's not. It's because it's not just a Comic-Con or a Star Trek convention. It's also
It's everything.
It's an adult con and a furry con, and it's all smushed together.
It's a gaming con. It's a film. It's a film festival. It's everything. They have my favorite part. My favorite part is the late night drumming that they do in one of the big halls.
I thought it was going to say the late night double feature picture show.
They also do a parade too.
Tell me about this drumming.
Go ahead, Justin.
They also do a parade, if I remember correctly, too.
Yes, they do a big parade on Saturday of the con.
Isn't there also a gun show over there that happens every year, right in the same area, one of the other convention centers? I think they do it every single time.
I am not aware of that, and would be surprised if that were the case. Just because, I mean, every single hotel room in the area is booked for that con. So, I mean, they sell out within hours of the rooms becoming available.
Yeah, it's like trying to in Vegas. You know, there's a reason why there are no cons the same week as CES. Even AVN isn't that fucking stupid. They do it the week after. So
some years, a couple of years ago, they did it at the same time.
As CES.
Yeah, there was a lot of crossover between some of the coverage. It was fun to watch.
Oh,
interesting.
I think holding anything in Atlanta of the scale is probably going to be problematic.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I mean, there's just you can't social distance without restricting the number of people who can get in. You just can't do that at Dragon Con.
Well, and then you can't do that at any con, really.
Yeah, but Dragon Con especially. I mean, it is that packed.
I went to Emerald City Comic Con. I believe it was 2010. I had a great time there, but yeah, there's no room, no matter how much space they open up.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like even with like all the everything going on in Atlanta now, like not just COVID-19, but then their police department is basically taking the week off. If that continues very much longer, I don't know. I think that it's probably not going to be a place people.
I don't see the city allowing them to host Dragon Con if something were to go down, especially with the current situation in Atlanta.
Yeah, I would be surprised too. I mean, how many people think Dragon Con is actually going to happen? I don't.
I don't think it will either, because they know it. They just don't want to admit it. Because they want that money to keep coming in, because then they don't have to get refunds.
Oh, no!
Full disclosure. Before tonight, I didn't even know what Dragon Con was.
Well, maybe in 30 years when you see it in second run, you'll understand. Sorry, Travis.
I'm sorry.
I like the rock that I live under sometimes.
Burn. That hurt. That hurt.
Okay. Well, all right. We'll see what happens with Dragon Con, which I guess is the last of the major cons that we still have to hear about whether they're going to cancel or not.
Well, we haven't
TwitchCon just got canceled as well.
Yeah.
We haven't heard about Star Trek Las Vegas yet.
No, it got delayed.
Yeah, we did.
It got pushed back till December.
Oh, that's right, December, which I think is.
We didn't talk about that. I thought we talked about.
Yeah, we did. We talked about that last week. We talked about that last week.
Oh, we did.
I think Justin was falling asleep again.
He was drunk for the rest of the show. That's right. I forgot it was his birthday.
Happy belated, Justin. Okay, so our next topic is one that we keep seeing. We can't quit this topic, and that is the Snyder Cut, which apparently they released some teaser footage, which finally confirmed that Zack Snyder did in fact intend to have Darkseid. How do you pronounce? Yeah, I've never.
Darkseid.
It is Darkseid. Good. That's what I thought, but it's one of those things when you're a reader, not necessarily a listener. And I've been reading. Actually, Darkseid is one of my least favorite villains in all of DC Comics, which is why, and probably the only villain that I regard less than Darkseid is Steppenwolf. So, in my estimation, that was a misfire from the get-go with Justice League as conceived by Zack Snyder. But apparently, the old guy's going to be there.
All Darkseid is DC's answer to Thanos.
Yeah.
So this is a question I have about this. That's exactly what I thought he was, because I don't know dick about Darkseid.
Well,
either.
let's remember who created Darkseid.
Who?
Stan Lee.
Okay, well there you go. All right, so so here's my point on this. I saw the trailer and I'm like, that would seem to be a pretty big plot point.
Oh
to
no, Jack
leave out.
Kirby, not Stan Lee. Jack Kirby.
Leaving this character out, that would seem to be like a pretty big plot thing to leave out of a film.
Yes, I thought so.
So how the holy fuck did it not make it into the film? I mean,
well, the same reason they didn't introduce Thanos in the Avengers immediately as the big bad. Darkseid is supposed to be the biggest bad of the DC universe.
Yeah, I mean, Steppenwolf is essentially the John the Baptist to Darkseid's Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was the precursor. He was leading the way. He was like.
Okay, so all right. So
more like the Loki to his Thanos, but okay.
Okay, so
Steppenwolf, I know.
Now people are getting offended by
now you know how I feel about Darkseid.
Okay, so all right, so then his appearance in this isn't going to be. It's not going to be something that major. It's kind of like just introducing Thanos early.
Right. It was basically set up to be like. See, now I'm all discombobulated.
It's supposed to be like the original Guardians of the Galaxy.
Steppenwolf is Darkseid's herald.
Yeah.
So the idea of the original Justice League movie was that with Steppenwolf is that he would be heralding Thanos, and at the end of the movie, that's when we would, or not Thanos. At the end of the movie, that's when we find out that Darkseid was on his way, right? And then that forms the basis of Justice League 2.
Okay, so if Steppenwolf is Darkseid's herald, who is Darkseid's Maud? I did this solely for that reaction from Carlos right there. That is exactly what I wanted.
Well, the other thing about this, that it's going to be very hard. It's going to be hard for me to not see Justice League War with the Snyder Cut. Justice League War was one of the first DC animated movies, which had Darkseid invading Earth, having the parademons sow chaos, and the heroes coming together, forming the Justice League and fighting back.
Okay, so without any dumb jokes here, so my question is, does this set up Justice League for, or let's put it through, the DCEU? Does this set this up to actually continue now that we have a reason to continue it with Darkseid? Is that what the point of this is?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is how, like, listen, Batman versus Superman was mediocrely received. The original cut of the Justice League was poorly received, but all the other DC movies seem to have been received well. We've had Wonder Woman was received really well. The first Suicide Squad,
Shazam.
Shazam.
Yeah.
So I think this
Aquaman.
is a way of, I think this is a way of retooling the DCEU to allow for a potential sequel to Justice League.
So is this essentially market research?
I think
you want to
so.
see
I
how
think it
people
is.
react to the Darkseid.
It seems to be a little bit, because let's not forget when they released the 3-hour cut of BVS, that was well received as well. Much more well received than the original film was. So, I mean, maybe they're thinking, maybe we should perhaps go with these other visions instead. I mean, just an idea.
We'll see. We'll know in about a year.
Also, I just want to point out that Darkseid first made his appearance in 1970. Whereas Thanos didn't make his first appearance until 1973.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around. Good point. Thank you.
Because the reality is that Marvel typically copied was after the DC counterpart.
Mhm.
So Darkseid made his first appearance after Carlos did.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
But you
But
know,
you should not conclude one thing from the other.
But so did Jesus Christ.
No, he was way before me. Way before me. Although people get us mixed up all the time.
And the circle is complete.
I thought you were John the Baptist.
Oh boy. Okay. So, all right.
I thought
I'm sorry,
Carlos was Zorg.
Wow.
From Toy Story?
From the Fifth Element.
Oh, from the Fifth Element.
Oh God, I totally forgot.
I couldn't name two characters in that movie as much as I love it.
Yeah, I loved it visually, but I couldn't remember any of the character names.
Vito, Cornelius, and Zorg.
Gary Oldman, one hell of an actor.
Oh my God, he's amazing.
Could we get Gary Oldman in Star Trek somehow?
Can we get Gary Oldman on this show
For the
somehow?
love of God.
That would be, I mean, they've had some pretty remarkable actors appear.
Gary Oldman in
Star Trek.
Strange New Worlds. Make it happen. Answer him out.
As Captain Robert April. That'd be awesome.
That actually would be awesome.
You could put Gary
Speaking
Oldman
of which,
in
there's a Captain Robert April fan film that is supposed to be coming out.
That's breaking all the rules.
That's breaking all the fan film guidelines, apparently.
Please, let's not talk about Axanar again.
It's not about
It's not Axanar. It's what was it? First Frontier? Is that it?
Yep, this one actually came out not long after Axanar. So first started.
Well, its teaser came out not long after.
Yeah, and it kind of did a fundraiser and then it disappeared. It's been radio silent for months and months. And suddenly it just resurfaced the other night with a new poster and a release date, and they're not giving a fuck about fan film guys.
No, they really are not. They they had the trailer that came out last year, and we all collectively winced when we saw it because it's
so bad.
I don't care about that. I expect it's nobody's going to mistake it for real Star Trek when they see it. I mean, when they see the trailer.
No, but like part of their fundraising was for is to have.
How much was the fundraiser from? I'm just curious because if this cost more than Lane's film, then somebody got really ripped off. Holy shit! Because it's like. There are scenes in it. It's so weird when you watch the trailer because there are scenes in it that look like, how do I put this, up there with Gary O'Brien type stuff where it's like you can tell they actually paid some real actors to get involved. And
they have Barry Corbin in it.
Right. Yeah, I saw that too. And that they actually put some money into actual production values from but not like into it's like scenes where people are sitting around talking, where it looks like they put the production values. And then you see scenes on the bridge, and it's like, holy shit! They just went to a Walmart parking lot, and that's where they cast everyone from.
It's like watching Renegade, isn't it?
Yeah,
apparently it's,
with cheaper effects and set design. Really,
look, I'll put
they
it
have
this
an
way.
IMBD. Okay, apparently it's by Kenneth Smith.
Well, I can do that.
Look, I'll put it this way: if these people are making money off of you donating to them, that's your fault.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, no.
That does not absolve them of responsibility.
No. I mean, if the product turns out to be shit, that's your fault.
I mean, it doesn't. I mean, to be fair, I don't think it looks like shit. It looks like a fan film.
Oh, it's a fan film.
I've never donated to a fan film expecting, Citizen Kane. I donate to a fan film because, it's something that I kind of wish I could do, but I can't. And helping other people, express their fandom, and then I get the reward of watching that later. It's all good to me.
Where's Sean's $5, Jason? Where's Sean's $5?
So I tried to go to Lane's website to see if I could see anything on it, and you're getting that. So there goes that idea.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they originally ran a $130,000 Kickstarter campaign back in 2016,
You're shitting me.
which failed. No, actually, it was 2015, which failed. They only got $30,000 worth of donations. Of course, it's Kickstarter, so they didn't get any of that. They tried again, I think another year or two after that.
Indiegogo?
And I think that one was on Indiegogo. Let's see.
What was the website that you just showed?
Fan Film Factor.
I mean, I'm getting it on my phone, so.
Yeah, Film Factor for the past couple of months has been less than stable as a website, which is weird.
Well, it has a less than stable guy who runs it, so.
Well, yeah, I'm not able to bring it up at the moment, actually, right now.
Secure connection failed. SSL error, internal error alert. Uh-oh.
Someone didn't pay for the server hosting.
I mean,
No,
I
I
got
got it. Mine came right up for me.
Really?
Yeah.
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 I mean, I just went straight to the URL, so.
So did I. FanFilmFactor.com. And that's what you get.
Guess I'm just lucky.
Yeah,
here.
I'm getting the Mac version of that.
They made 30 grand on Kickstarter.
What?
Yeah, except it didn't. I said that already.
I'm
But they
sorry,
didn't get to keep any of that.
No.
So they did end up getting some money off of, I guess it was Indiegogo, but nowhere near what they planned. But the point, of course, being that, well, I mean, like I said, there's some aspects of it visually that I think look interesting.
They use physical models, which
Is-
is always good.
I didn't even see that. I know what you're talking about when you said that. I didn't know they used physical models. All I saw were really bad CG.
Yeah, if you scroll down, on their Facebook page, they show the actual model of the Enterprise they use,
Yep.
dry dock, and everything.
Wow. That's,
Yeah, I the dry dock scene, which is basically a ripoff of the motion picture
Frame
one.
frame to frame.
Except if you look at the actual dry dock construction, it literally looks like a bunch of pipes fitted together. So anyway, I should not cast stones on fan films. I've made fan films with terrible visuals myself, so I am not going to cast stones on them. But
So what you're saying is this is Star Trek, the Doctor Who.
Oh.
Anyway, so we'll see what happens.
I just hope that they can actually don't get in too much trouble because if CBS decides to say no.
well, this is my point. Yesterday when you brought this up, it's like, here's the thing. For fuck's sake, it's a second goddamn guideline. You don't call it Star Trek. You name it the title, and then you put on it a Star Trek fan production. That's it. I mean, how hard are these rules to follow? I mean, this is why, CBS cracks down when you do shit like this, and then you make CBS to think the enemy.
People won't wear masks when you tell them to, Sean.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
Well,
This is basically the COVID version of fan films.
Exactly.
Anyway, it will be and actually it is feature. It's supposed to be feature length too, right, Justin? So there's that guideline as well.
It's actually supposed to be. I think it said 90 minutes at one point.
Yeah.
Well, they said here. Well, I mean, here's the thing. If it was already in production, are they subject to that line?
That's a good question because they didn't start. Remember, the guidelines went into effect in 2016.
16. And
Right.
they started production after 2016, but they are fundraising before that.
Right. So are they thinking they're excluded because they started fundraising in 2016? Is that what they're thinking?
I can only imagine that's their thinking. But if you listen to John Van Sitter's explanation of the guidelines, he's quite clear that the guidelines do not apply to things that have already been shot,
Right,
not
exactly.
things that were in production. So
Right.
that's why
Right.
Renegades didn't have that excuse.
They changed
But
things up real
Yorktown
quick.
does.
Right. And,
Yorktown still hasn't been released yet, but it was all footage that was shot way before the guidelines. It's just been re-edited.
Renegades is funny because as shit as I thought the first Renegades was, them going back for the second one and saying just removing all the Star Trek IP from it when they made it was actually a very smart move on their part, because Axonar notwithstanding, they were number 2 in line for the reason why these fan film guidelines came down. And quite frankly, the Renegades guys clearly wanted to make money off this, because just based on they were using the first Renegades, how they were using that to generate money for perks. It was about merchandising.
They also took their brand. They also took their brand, right? So they stripped off Star Trek, and they had a Renegades mobile app that had, for a while there, like that had all kinds of like it's free to play, obviously download, but they had microtransactions and stuff within the app. That, you can soup up. What was the ship called? The you could soup it up and make it better, and and eventually that got pulled from the app stores.
Well, they even launched their own streaming service, Atomic. That's launched from Renegades.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a clear goal with this.
I mean, Sky Conway, who's behind Renegades, and was also behind Star Trek of Gods and Men, which I worked on. He's a businessman. He's always angling to make money and out of Star Trek, and I'm certainly not accusing him of anything at this point, other than saying that just is his point of view.
I'm not even.
Well, there is one very major difference between Renegades and Axonar.
One's done, the other one isn't.
Yeah, one is completed. Yes.
Yeah.
Not just completed. He released 2.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not even criticizing him for that, because it was clear what the goal was, and
making a TV show he could take to CBS.
Yeah,
that's literally what they stated from the very beginning.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They sure as hell did.
Yeah.
Without question. In fact, they were telling me this at cons. They were saying this, but they weren't just saying they said that we have a meeting. That's how much they were pitching that bullshit. That we have a meeting to make this into. So, but regardless of that, though.
Oh my God! It was Fire Festival.
Yep.
We hustle ahead of time and raise money for the next hustle.
Yeah, I mean, when
Alec is Billy McFarland, except he's not in prison.
Right.
Yet.
Yeah.
But his goal was clear that he was milking the brand, and when it became untenable, thank you, Alec Peters, he smartly moved on to
and immediately.
Like ahead of having to be told. They just said, "Fuck it, we're not even going to waste our time with this. Our bell. That bell's already been rung for us. People already know us. We're just going to make this its own brand."
Oh yeah.
Whatever that is.
And I just had a nice little discussion with someone on First Frontier page, and they're saying, "Well, it's only guideline, so we can do whatever the hell we want."
What do they say?
It's only guideline.
Okay, yeah, that's really not a smart way to approach this.
Yep. You'll see it if you go to
it's an actual rules.
guideline. Okay.
I mean,
that.
I guess technically, yeah, you're right. They are only, and by the same token, they can sue you too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and ask Verizon how well that worked out for them. Ask Stage 9 how that worked out for them. Ask the other projects.
That's the sad thing about Horizon is that with Horizon that it had this shit not all come down at the same time with Axonar, Tommy Kraft would have probably been clear and free, and nobody would have bothered him at all about making the second.
Oh yeah.
No, and it sounded actually like a great story.
Yeah, and it's the way I heard how that phone call went, where that he got, they felt bad about having to tell him, we really can't have you doing this right now. But of course, Tommy Kraft being the guy he is, he was completely respectful of it. So.
Which I mean, I understood their stance on it because they allowed that, and you would have Alec going, which he was already trying to do. But and again, now you have Alec now, and look what he's doing now. It's almost exactly what he's doing back then.
He's hosting live streams with nobody watching and trying to sell crap he doesn't have.
Yeah.
He's Billy McFarlane.
No, because at least Billy McFarlane had cheese sandwiches.
Sure.
Now I want a cheese sandwich.
Yeah, so do I. God damn it, Jason.
You
Damn you, Jason!
Now I have to go make a grilled cheese. Thanks.
Damn it.
Okay, well, I think that's enough of our fan film segment for this week. But speaking of CBS, we got some more detail this week from the head of CBS All Access about what the sort of souped-up version of CBS All Access is going to look like when it launches next year. One of the things that we learned in the press availability that he held was that it will offer 15,000 hours of new Viacom and CBS programming in addition to CBS All Access's existing 15,000 hours of content. By contrast, HBO Max has only 10,000 hours of content, and NBC Universal's Peacock, I still grin whenever
I hate that name.
launches is due to launch next month with only 15,000 hours. So in terms of the amount of content available from the network-based of the streaming platforms, CBS and Viacom are certainly going the full distance in corralling as much of their IP as they can, so that they can all put it exclusively onto CBS All Access.
It's almost like that. It's almost like that lady who was trying to pull everything together, who everybody told her was never going to work. It's actually starting to work out. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it just took a little while though.
He's Redstone, Sherry Redstone. That's what he's talking.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, they're certainly taking their best shot. I'll give that to them.
Quantity doesn't always equal quality.
Okay, so here
also true.
But I mean, Viacom and CBS have such an expansive library that there's going to be plenty of quality on it. So here's the question I have though: with them corralling all this IP and Peacock doing the same thing, are they not going to be licensing this out to Netflix and Amazon and these others?
Probably not. Yeah,
that's correct.
Well, I mean, we've seen this happen. We've seen Warner Brothers. Basically, we've seen Friends is pulled, right? So now we have it on HBO Max. I think West Wing is leaving Netflix at the end of the year and going to be transitioning to NBC. Sorry, not NBC. HBO Max.
Oh, HBO Max, right?
Yeah.
I just saw an ad today for season 2 of Doom Patrol.
Yep.
Not on DC Universe, folks. It's on HBO Max.
Yeah, there's an update about DC Universe, but I'll get to that.
Yeah. And we have now The Office will be leaving at the end of the season to go to Peacock. So you're already seeing this. Like you're seeing these number one shows leaving Netflix. And I've said it before, and you guys have disagreed with me, but Netflix is going to be in a precarious position because they are going to be running out of legacy content, and they tend to spend their load on their own content pretty early in seasons, and they only last 3 or 4 seasons. So I think Netflix is going to have some significant headwinds down the pipe.
Oh, I have always believed that.
Yeah,
Jason, I agree with you on that. The content issue for Netflix is a potential crisis to them.
Still pissed that they canceled MST3K.
I was never a fan myself, but
it's expensive. It's really expensive, though. I mean, for something that you think is really cheap and 30 years ago could be done cheap, it's to secure the rights for those films.
Yep,
that was the biggest challenge with the relaunch.
I get that.
Yeah, they back in the original that they were using films that were in the public domain or where whoever did own the rights to those.
Santa versus the Martians.
Right.
Yeah.
Whoever did own the
that
rights to these films, it was so cheap to get the rights to that it was nominal. But it was mostly back in the day. It was public domain films.
That's ultimately why we never did our thing, because we were talking about, I remember a while back with George doing a MST3K type deal.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I had brought that up to him, yeah. And now you've got an issue with these, it's usually larger companies that have bought up if they didn't already own it, they bought up all these old properties. And they're seeing the value in just having content, of just owning the content outright. So it becomes very impractical for a series like MST3K if they're not drawing in enough of an audience to be able to support licensing that content. So
I mean, the only way you could do it is be like, well, look, this is the name of the show. Follow along at the time codes and do this.
Yeah, they're not going to do that on a major
streaming
platform.
You just can't do it unless you have the financial resources to, pull it off. You just can't.
I mean, it's very MST3K. As much as I love it, I acknowledge that's always been very cult, very niche. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's a different. Look, Carlos doesn't even fucking like it. Oh, come on, that's how niche it is.
Yeah, but Carlos.
I mean, let's be real here.
But Carlos is a gay man. Doesn't have very good taste sometimes.
Good night, everybody.
Denied.
Thank you, Justin.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Good luck trying to be on Twitter next week, Jason. You are canceled.
Yeah, exterminate, Jason. Exterminate. At least I like Doctor Who, Jason.
Got you on that one.
Now, here's something I was.
Did you?
I was
Do you really?
thinking of.
The rebooted Who. Go ahead,
If they
son.
have access to all. You know what I'd like to see out of all of these networks creating their own platforms is I would like to see some of these. I would like to see some failed pilots as like a section of a network's.
Well, they certainly could. Well, actually, not all pilots are the same in terms of who owns them. So in many cases, the network ordered them and they own them. Right. In some cases, though, they're created independently for a network.
And brought to a network, yeah.
And so the network doesn't have the rights to them.
Sure.
So, and you also have to remember there are good reasons why pilots are not picked up.
Look, it's like it's like finding the hidden gem cult classic stuff. It's just failed pilots is all.
Yeah, no, I mean, actually, I think it would be really interesting because when you have unlimited, bandwidth in terms of, offerings that you can make on a platform, why not?
Right, exactly.
Brand it as, television that never was or whatever. But, I'm reminded of, have any of you seen the failed Wonder Woman pilot?
Oh, I've never actually seen it. I've seen clips of it.
Pictures of it. And
I've
seen
seen the whole
side-by-side
thing.
images with it and the porn parody that was released similarly. And the porn parody costume was of significantly better quality than the costume that was in the failed pilot.
It was is it Adriana Palinki?
Palinki, yeah. She's from, she was in originally Friday Night Lights. She's a great actress.
Yeah, she was Mockingbird in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right. And
she was also the
they do a Justice League
on the other Star Trek show that's not Star Trek.
Orville.
Oh, yeah, she's the excellent
Adrian
Orville.
Palicki.
Yeah, she's the first officer on Orville.
Right.
Yeah, that's her. And it had a good pedigree. I mean, what's the name? The guy who was the writer, producer of... he's the same guy who did Ally McBeal. and David
E. Kelly.
David E. Kelly was behind the Wonder Woman pilot.
Oh wow!
He was really off his game on this one, folks. Because I generally have liked his shows. I mean, some of them I think are brilliant television classics. But it did not go anywhere.
I just hope that on this, that we get like the Love Boat, the next wave.
Oh boy, cue up the song again, Justin.
So before we move on, the last original bit of contenting on DC Universe has been canceled, the DC Daily, and with it, the final vestigial remnants of Machinima. It was filmed in the studio where the company used to be, and all the remaining staff who remained are now gone.
Wow.
Well, so I don't see DC Universe going away because it's still a hub specifically for DC content. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if they'll be making anything original there. Stargirl's still going, as is Harley Quinn season 2.
It's going to be a hub on HBO Max, is what it's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to end up becoming. Speaking of Stargirl, have people been keeping up on it?
I have slacked.
I have not slacked. I actually
grounded.
I'm enjoying it, actually. They do a lot of great nods to the Justice Society, which I was always a fan of, as they reinterpret the original heroes in these essentially these teenagers who are taking up their mantle literally, and so far so good. It's totally working for me.
We're going to actually see a Green Lantern with this. I mean,
they showed the Broken Lantern, so yeah. I would love to see, a new Green Lantern. I hope they're just not teasing.
Well, you know how they go with this. They'll try to tease it as much as they can, but I'm hoping maybe we'll actually get to see one finally.
Yeah, I mean the heroes they've chosen actually I think are pretty good ones to choose. Wildcat, Hourman, Dr. Midnight. They were always among the favorite.
I like how it's not the same formula as the other DC Universe shows. I mean, it's stepping away from stuff like the Flash and the Arrow and Supergirl, and it's doing its own thing. It's really actually pleasantly surprising.
Yeah, I mean, its premise is basically that the superheroes lost. They lost 10 years ago, big time. Most of them were killed. So it gives it this great sort of through line that it's about the rebirth of these classic heroes and the rebirth of justice, etc. And so far, that tone I think totally works for me.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Actually, along with that one, also Harley Quinn. If you have been watching it, it's not.
I have not been keeping up on Harley Quinn. Sorry.
It's not bad.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear. I probably should break down and do it at some point.
It's fun, campy, and it's fun how they nod to everything, but it's still its own thing.
Harley and Ivy hook up on screen.
Ooh! I mean, for those who are into that.
Well, it's a validation of what people expect to see from a long-running implied relationship in comics finally being seen on screen, right in front of you.
Yeah. No, good point.
On something that used to never be allowed.
Yeah. And is still kind of shuffled aside in the comics.
Isn't this this is an animated series, is it not?
It is an animated series, yes.
Yeah, animated, yeah. Okay, well, we'll see what the continuing permutations of the DC universe as we see it unfold in comics, television, and cinema.
Yep, I don't see DC universe lasting too much longer. I think it's all going to unfold in HBO Max.
It makes sense to fold it in, frankly.
I mean, what's the point? There can't be enough subscribers in the thing.
Here's the thing: you have Peacock, which I hate that name too with a passion. You got CBS All Access doing its big thing. You got all the other gigantic companies, so it makes sense.
Well, it doesn't help that AT&T has kind of went on a blitz of buying stuff and had to prune all of their redundancies from their acquisitions, which is why Machinima is now dead.
And you've got on Disney Plus. Disney Plus has, of course, the Marvel content, so it doesn't make sense for HBO Max not to have the DC content exclusively.
Okay, so let's go to our final topic of the night before what are we watching, and that is a study that came out that basically is positing that our galaxy may host at least 36 alien civilizations based on ages of stars in the galaxy and how long it would take, a civilization to evolve, assuming the same sort of 4 billion years that Earth has had, and they've gone through and decided how many stars sort of fit that profile, and it comes to about 3 dozen. And that we will probably never meet any of them because they're all too far away from each other. But I found that kind of a reassuring thing, given the fact that one of the prevailing theories is that we may be it as far as intelligent life is concerned, and that's a scary proposition for life, intelligent life anyway. So what do you think? Are there 36 others we need to be worried about, or is it just us?
They're coming in August.
Is that your 2020 bingo card for August? Alien invasion?
Yes.
Hey, that's the premise of this background.
Look, I like the Babylon B timeline for 2020. It's like September, Hillary Clinton declares herself the nominee because Joe Biden just mysteriously dies.
Who was Sean? Were you the one who posted the thing on Facebook about? I think it was someone on Twitter who, like, in all sincerity, like, posted this thing about, like, with Hillary Clinton with the superimposed devil over her face and talking about eating children and
No,
I mean, I was like, and she totally believes this.
I must have been Augustin.
That's
You
amazing.
must think Augustin maybe, because he posts stuff like that all the time.
No. I mean, okay. On to the aliens. I mean, this is all. This is highly speculative, I mean, to say the least. I mean, it's got to assume a lot of things here. It's not just.
It is assuming a number of things. Yes.
So I mean, it's interesting, but I mean, it's not really. It's like I'm reminded of that Far Side comic of the first images of the Hubble, and it's like it's a blurry picture of aliens waving. That's until I get that.
Well, one of the things that I remember reading in one of my favorite books of all time, which was The Making of Star Trek, that Gene Roddenberry went to the Rand Institute and asked them to calculate for him how many essentially Class M worlds there must be in the galaxy, and it turned out to be a ton. And he's like, okay, so there's a pretty good chance that there are alien civilizations out there, so we're going to make a show about meeting them. And it's interesting to me that this was now a half century ago, and here we are today, and the notion of calculating how many planets there may be out there that are A, habitable, and B, habitated by civilizations is still a big thing.
Am I spoiled just because I'm a Star Trek fan? Is that what the problem is here? That
Yes.
I'm expecting more.
Yeah.
But it ain't no federation of 125 planets.
Well,
So.
there's this, I can't remember the name of it, or I can't remember the specifics of it. There's this like theory of the evolution of a civilization,
Right.
of a galactic civilization, and that is a society that is levels 1 and 2. They're basically just planetary bound altogether, period. And then you start to get into this third level in which they start discovering space flight and atomic power and all this stuff. And each time a civilization progresses in one of these levels, they are met with a crisis of some kind that could completely obliterate them, and it's only that overcoming that allows them to evolve to the next stage as a galactic civilization.
The great filters.
The great filter.
The great filter, yeah.
And I was actually about to mention the new Twilight Zone show. One of my favorite episodes of the first season is called The 6 Degrees of Freedom, and it actually tackles the great filter theory. And it's the best episode of the season, if you ask me. If you haven't
I
seen
have not
it,
watched it yet. I want to see that. I'll take it. What's it called again?
It's called The 6 Degrees of Freedom, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
It's easily the best of the new franchise, new series so far. It's you can watch it in color or black and white. It's just
Really?
yes, like it's definite. Like the option is definitely there to stream it in black and white or color. It's just I don't want to spoil anything about it.
Okay, don't spoil it. We'll watch it and come back and talk about it.
Go watch
Wait,
it.
There-
I
there
know
are
that
two-
there's been a lot of people here that have said, like, oh, Twilight Zone writing doesn't get better. And this one you need to watch. This is a good one. Trust me.
Yes. Well, they can't be all bad. I mean, that's,
Exactly.
Jordan
Ross, you
Peele
gonna say
is
something?
involved. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, it should be. I want it to be good. In fact, I think the new season starts next month.
No,
I
it
recall
starts in
correctly?
2 days, actually, I believe.
Oh, really? It's in June. For some reason, July stuck in my head. But yeah, it's about to start then.
There
I'm
are
looking
two
forward
quotes
to it.
that come to mind when I hear a story about this. The first one is, there are two possibilities. Either we are alone in the universe or we are not. And
Right.
both are utterly terrifying.
Yeah.
And then the other
Was
is,
that
if
Brad
we
there?
are truly alone in this galaxy, seems like an awful waste of space.
Well, yeah. Well, and then, of course, there's what Stephen Hawking believes, which is if we ever do meet another civilization, they're probably going to want to destroy us or conquer us. So,
Yeah,
Or they'll just leave us alone to destroy ourselves.
Maybe that's what's happening right now.
the
Battlefield.
thing- the big comparison that I remember was that we look at us entering space travel and all this stuff as us doing to Pandora and Avatar as us being the thing, when that would be the thing happening to us.
Yeah.
yeah, indeed.
I
All
mean,
right.
I mean, imagine the rest of the universe doesn't have gold, and we're like the only planet, and we're just frivolously using it.
So what you're saying is we play out the plot of Battlefield Earth.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Oh,
Well, you
God.
are still in
If L. Ron Hubble is proved right, we're
L. Ron Hubble. I
Is that-
like that. Oh,
The
goodness
site
gracious.
close, and yeah.
I just love the
if he's proven
dreadlocks.
right, I don't want to
Oh,
live anymore.
friendly bartender. Just love John Travolta.
I'm with you on that one, Ross. Okay, now we're our final discussion topic of the week, and that is, what are we watching? And why don't we start this week with our stalwart producer, Justin?
Let's see here. Well, Harley Quinn. We watched the latest episode of that. I've been watching Deep Space Nine. I am on season 5. Yeah, I just started season 5. Let's see here. Been watching just, random YouTube stuff, and of course playing video games. I've been playing a lot of Space Engineers lately. So other than that, yeah, that's just pretty much same old.
All right. Travis, how about you?
I haven't been watching much of anything, to be honest with you. I've just been doing some gaming lately. I watched a couple episodes of the Civil War documentary, but it kind of lost interest. It wasn't the Ken Burns one that I've been looking for. And,
That one's a good one.
Very good.
like, my dad used to own it on VHS. I don't know if he still does or not. Oh, it's Raul.
Hello.
Raul the Baul, you're here just in time for What Are We Watching?
the wrap up.
Oh, well, sorry.
That's okay. We missed you.
I missed you too.
We were wondering if
But,
you were going to show. So thank you for showing up.
He was busy pinning up the green screen.
Is that just a sheet? Because that's a good idea. Because I'm going to get one.
It is. It's just sheet cut up.
So much cheaper. Oh my God! I know I didn't think of this before.
But,
It sounds like you're sitting on the peacock throne there, Sean.
Well, he's definitely got the lens flare for it.
Yeah,
God,
there you
yeah.
go.
And
Sorry,
the
Travis.
legs.
You were going to finish. He is pantsless, by the way, this week, Raul. You missed that.
What?
So there you go. So, Travis, did you want to add anything? Oh God, no, not again.
There you have
Okay, that it for you, Travis?
I watched a few Markiplier videos. I've mainly just been been getting ready to do a run through of the Halo campaigns. I might stream those and might play with other people. I'm not sure yet, but just building up a little excitement for that, and been building up some hype for next generation of gaming, which actually looks pretty fun. PS5 actually revealed their console this week, so
And their launch titles.
their launch titles and
And are you going to tell us a little bit about those?
again.
I mean, like, I'm more focused on Xbox due to Halo Infinite, but I mean, PlayStation 5 looks nice. I mean, I don't think I'll get it right away because it looks a little tall for my tastes and my shelves are designed differently. But some interesting launch titles that people are talking about are Ratchet and Clank, Spider-Man Miles Morales looks interesting. Demon Souls has got some people talking, which is like a Dark Souls prequel.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Something like that.
It's the precursor period to Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I'm not into Dark Souls, so that was the first time I saw it personally. And of course, people are talking about Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, that's the one that's setting off Ross.
Yeah.
Yes,
I adored the original game, and the Forbidden West looks amazing.
It does. Look
This is why we need
I
our
need
own
to
game
set
segment.
aside and actually play Horizon Zero Dawn. I have it, and I always start it, and then I venture off and do something else. But it is very it's a
That's
very
the story of my
pretty
life.
game. Yes, it's like it is. Like
All right. Thank you, Travis.
Yes.
Jason, let's go over to you. What have you been watching?
This week we've watched some TNG. Try to refresh my state. Try to find some Star Trek to do in this kind of lull. I forgot what it was like to not have new Star Trek on. So
I know we've been spoiled.
yeah, we've been
Lower
spoiled.
We've been spoiled.
And then we don't even have a date, so I'm just kind of like itching. Of course, I'm got a couple rewatch podcasts I'm following. So I'm watching Scrubs and The Office, and then tonight the wife and I started The Outsiders. So
The movie The Outsiders, or
the movie The Outsiders, yeah.
oh wow, okay.
Yep. It was actually kind of interesting to see this the story play out, with the kind of social unrest that we're seeing now.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, it's been quite a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Son, how about you?
So, on YouTube, there's a Netflix has their own channel called Netflix is a Joke for comedians, and Dave Chappelle had a pop-up comedy special called 846.
Yes. I heard about that.
And that was pretty solemn coming from Dave Chappelle. I do.
He's a
recommend
tortured genius, I think.
Yeah, I could agree, definitely.
Well, and he definitely has a common sense that seems to be lacking in his the voice that he presents.
That's why he survives being canceled.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched that. That was a pretty solemn watch. And then I finally finished watching the season of The Flash, and I'm okay leaving the entire series right there. Just,
Wasn't it
Iris-
George who convinced you to watch The Flash?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm okay 100% leaving Iris gone and the Flash wondering what the hell's going to happen next. I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Not really. I just been watching Ross do his streams. I've got another friend who's blind. He streams video games, and so it's fascinating to watch the disabled community itself play video games, especially when we have The Last of Us 2 that just came out, being being heralded as one of the most access-able games for the disabled, with as many features as it has for the disabled.
Interesting.
Yeah, that so it's been this weird kind of, hey, I'm rooting for this product even though I don't like the product itself because of all the stuff that's, I mean, like the game itself was lifted from embargo today, so or Friday because it's now tomorrow. But I've been watching people stream it, and it's like, yeah, no, everything, each and every one of those leaks that came about this game is absolutely correct. It is just a slog of nothing but constant violence and torture for no real reason, and just sheer incompetence and stupidity in writing, and it's like, yeah, no,
Okay.
as much as I don't like
Sounds like the average video game, basically.
like, as much as I don't like this game, I hope it does make some modicum of success just for the fact of its ability access, you know?
All right. Ross, that seems like a good segue over to you.
Well, the ongoing cavalcade of Cars with Faces continues.
Indeed.
The latest evolution includes a series by the creators of the Baby Shark song, Pink Fong.
Shut up.
No.
Welcome to my
Baby
hell,
Shark.
gentlemen.
No.
And that is this week's musical segment. Thank you very much. We've now had musical segments for 3 weeks running, so I'm just saying.
The wife and I have been watching Riverdale. We're in the
Oh, really?
4th season now, I think.
You've made it to 4, huh? I couldn't
believe
make it
so.
past 2.
Yeah, it's a fascinating show. Wonderful to watch. Just crazy with the amount of twists and turns you get. Just who knew a series based on Archie freaking comics would be this good? Seriously, who knew? No one. No way in hell. But it works. It's awesome. I love it.
Excellent.
My usual YouTube playlist, and of course, this week I've gotten back into the game Destiny, and going back and reading and experiencing some of the backstory behind it. It reads a lot like Tolkien, but with space wizards set in the solar system. You've got
Guardian could die.
You've got powers signing pacts with worm gods to become gods themselves. You've got massive spaceborne weapons that consumes planets and implodes stars.
So instead of it being Middle Earth, it's Third Soul.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Until they did.
And then you've got what's essentially the Borg that's in there too, that manipulates time and space to find a perfect reality where they succeed in all their goals. So,
Sounds like the Anorax.
kinda, except completely machine. So yeah, that's my experience this week. And as I said at the beginning of the show, I've been streaming XCOM Chimera Squad, hence the background.
All right, excellent. And that brings us over to you, Sean P. O'Halloran. I assume still pantsless?
Yes. I finished watching Community. That's done. So I watched, what else did I watch? Not much. Oh, I watched Gallery, the Star Wars Gallery. I watched the last 2 episodes. I'm all caught up with that. So, and that's been one hell of a ride all the way through. That's really it. Yeah, I really haven't watched much this week.
Yeah, it's been a slow week on a lot of levels. I think because there's so much going on in the world, I know for me that's been picking up a lot of my attention. I watched, had been looking forward to Love, Victor on Hulu, and it actually was a very charming series. I binged it all 10 episodes in 2 days. They're only half-hour episodes, so it's not like a real binge, but I was a little skeptical just because it's based on the movie Love, Simon, and the character Simon appears in voiceover, and I'm not a big fan of voiceover, but it actually ends up working in kind of an interesting way. So, it's really well cast. The main character and his family are Latino, which I did not realize until I actually saw it, and I think they capture that really well in the series. So I put it as a recommend to watch. So that's it for me. Raul, do you want to chip in?
Yes. I have 2 things to chip in. First, I saw the beginning half of the episodes of The Watchmen, the HBO series.
That's right. Which, by the way, HBO is airing for free this month.
This weekend, I believe.
Is it just this weekend?
I believe
in honor of Juneteenth, and of course, also interestingly because Donald Trump is traveling to Tulsa, which is where the Black Massacre happened in the 1920s, and of course that's the premise of Watchmen. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it takes place. It actually depicts the massacre, which is the first time on film that it's ever been depicted.
That's right.
The series is fascinating. It's an in-depth look at law enforcement and the Black community in particular, and what it means to be a hooded vigilante in the real world. What it would be, just like the original Watchmen was no holds barred. This is no holds barred as well.
Yeah, no, I remember when we watched it during its original run. Yeah, it was a big deal. I think it's one of the best, some of the best television ever.
It won a Peabody.
Yeah,
so.
It was really
I loved the Watchmen. It was great. That was outstanding. It was so much better than the film.
Yeah,
no question about it.
And I'm also playing a game called Prophecy, which is an auto chess, auto battler. And it's like a lot like Riot's offering and Steam's offering of Dota, but it takes place in the Smite universe, which means you have gods fighting each other, which is hilarious, I think.
Did they just include Cthulhu?
They are including their original gods. Smite you just included Cthulhu, but Prophecy has about half of the gods so far.
Cool.
Jason, we're signing off now. Everything you're supposed to say. Everything is fine.
Everything is fine.
All right. Well, thank you to my fellow hosts for this week's show, and program note for the folks at home. We, of course, will be back next week. And with that week's news, we're looking forward, hopefully, to getting a date, an air date for Star Trek Discovery Season 3. It can't come too soon for me, that's for sure.
And Lower Decks. Please
Lower
tell
Decks.
me the new marketing stuff means it's coming soon.
I hope that's not what it means, because I need me some Star Trek, damn it. Thank you.
Alexa, fire photon torpedoes.
Is it just me, or does Lower Decks sound like the pornographic offering of Star Trek instead of the regular?
I'm okay with that
music.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that too. No, I think it is going to be a comedy, so I'm interested in seeing how they handle it, which I think they're going to do a good job. That's just my guess.
These nacelles are braced for her pleasure.
Stop it.
Hell yeah!
Fire
I can't
photon
think of a better
torpedoes.
way. I can't think of a better way to end the show. Son. There you go.
Alexa on my
Siri?
phone.
Is that Siri you asked to do that?
No, Alexa. I have Alexa on my phone.
Really?
You can also, hey Alexa, set auto destruct.
Will Alexa also do? It will do auto destruct.
It will.
Shut up.
Alexa, set auto destruct.
Hang on a second.
Here's EcoB Plus.
Oh, you're gonna destroy your
Echo.
air conditioner.
Set
Well,
auto
Alexa.
destruct.
Sorry, there is no thermostat named one in your EcoB account.
Alexa, set auto Alexa, set auto destruct.
Yes, set
I hope-
auto destruct sequence.
I hope our listeners have headphones on.
Fire phasers.
Alexa, set auto destruct sequence code 0 1
Yes.
0 destruct 0.
2, 1. Goodbye.
Alexa, play Skyrim.
Alexa's not that dumb.
Oh, by the way, I did find out something. By the way, I wanted to share. If we're still, are we still in the air? The entire soundtrack for The Mandalorian.
000 destruct 0.
Yes, Sean.
I'm having trouble accessing your auto destruct sequence skill right now.
Apparently, it's a skill.
This is what it's like in the future, folks.
We're living in the future.
Can't even blow up the damn ship.
Here's
I-
what
but-
happens when a bunch of Star Trek nerds had voice recognition. This is what happens.
Yep, that's it. So anyway, the entire soundtrack for The Mandalorian is available on Amazon.
Oh, really?
And it's
On
and here's what
Spotify.
here's what I found out. There is an album for every episode.
Yep.
Wow.
Which is amazing.
So that means all of the score. Wow, that's
Yep, the entire score is on there.
I had a few listens on Spotify. I do enjoy I don't know. I just enjoy the approach, the Western blend of sci-fi. In that.
Yeah, Ludwig Göransson, I think his name, Göransson. He is quite the talent, and I looked it up just for giggles today when I watched the gallery on Disney Plus because of the whole section on music and
right.
And just I mean, wow, they picked the perfect guy for this, for that entire series. Just amazing.
Well, like I said when the show was on, the music is great at points, but there are just some points in that music it literally just sucks me right out of the show.
Really?
I still think it has one of the best soundtracks, one of the best
It
theme
does.
songs.
And someone did a remix of it. I don't know if you've seen it. It's got a disco beat to it. It's actually quite
Everything's got to have a disco version.
good. It's quite surprisingly good.
Even Battlestar Galactica had a disco version.
That's true. It did,
It-
and I have it memorized. I won't trouble you with it right now, but
Thank-
it does
Thank
go
you,
with
thank you.
love, love, love. Anyway,
Stop it.
stop it. You still do the best righteous indignation, Travis, of anyone on the show.
Stop it.
There you go. All right, we're taking a really long time to just sign off, but I think we're going to now.
Good night,
So
folks.
thank you,
I'd like to
everybody.
sleep at some point.
Alrighty.
I'm being told there are Imperial walkers here. I don't see any.
I love that Dalek you have behind you, son.